Hey everybody, Julia here coming at you with another video. And this one's going to be on what it looks like to get real and raw with yourself. So to do this, I'm going to talk about an experience that I went through. I will not be mentioning names. And if you're here to judge about dynamics, please take your judgment and go elsewhere. Okay, let's get right into it. To be raw and real with yourself. What does it look like? What does it require? And I'm just going to let you guys figure it out. And I'm just going to tell you my experience. Please comment below if you have any questions. And yeah, okay. So back when I was 18 years old, I was dating someone who was 34. And I had an apartment. He stayed with me. He didn't pay no bills. He didn't pay for no food. He didn't, whatever, so on and so forth. One day we go over to his parents' house, and me and his father were driving, and he looks at me and he says, "Julia, I think you're hindering my son." At that point, I immediately, of course, initially got offended well, actually, at first I didn't know what hindering meant, so I asked him that, and then he kind of made a smug remark about me not knowing what hindering meant, whatever. And I think that's why I reacted the way that I did, regardless. Figuring out that, like, holding him back, of course I'm offended. I'm 18 years old. I'm like, okay, honey, like, your son doesn't pay no bills. He doesn't put no food in the fridge. He doesn't even do the dishes for when I get home from work. And I'm hindering your son. Okay. Initial reaction, raw, real. That's exactly what I did. If I could go back today and re-have this conversation, I would do it a lot differently. I would ask what hindering meant, and I would ignore the smug remark of how my English is not the best, even though I live here. Okay, whatever. And I would come from a place of compassion. So looking back, he's completely right. I was hindering his son because I made it easy for him to not change. However, I wasn't the only one taking part in that. But that doesn't mean I need to be rude about it. I would ask, what could I be doing differently? He doesn't pay no bills. He doesn't put food in the fridge. He doesn't even do dishes. Now, I understand why you could be thinking this. And maybe it's because of the age gap or whatever it may be. Could you please explain? I would ask him to give me a little bit more information. And then, furthermore, I would go into saying, okay, yes, but blank name. Every single time that he runs into an issue, he knows if he pouts long enough, you're just going to go and fix it for him. Would that not be considered hindering him as well? And instead of me getting offended, we would be able to have a conversation about maybe things we could both be doing differently for the better and the greater good of my life, his life, everyone's life. Because ultimately, we just want the best for each other. However, my mindset at 18, I wasn't prepared for a conversation like that. And not that I'm mad at myself. I'm being raw and real with you guys. It requires looking at yourself in the dynamic of like, okay, well, what could I have done differently? Because what I showed him is that I wasn't mentally mature enough to be in that kind of relationship. When if I were to hear him out and be like, hey, like, let's talk about this, I would be showing that I am mentally mature enough. So at 25 now, seeing this, I had to look at myself raw and real. And don't get me wrong, I had every reason in the book to stay upset if I wanted to. If I wanted to be like, oh, that guy is a piece of, like, no, honey, like, come on, like, I don't suffer. I'm not suffering. I hope somewhere out there he's not either. Like, ultimately, like, it has nothing to do with me anymore. Regardless, taking a minute to emotionally process things and just looking back and seeing your experiences of how you reacted is a good way, because instead of thinking like, oh, this is the way it is, When you go back and you examine yourself, you get a redo. And when you get a redo, that means that you're prepared for whatever emotion hits you because you felt it in that moment. You know what it feels like. You know how you could react. But just because you do one thing one time, one way, doesn't mean you have to do it the same way every single time. So I hope this video gives you guys a quick perspective of how I get raw and real with myself and live in my authentic path and call myself out on my own shit for my better, like it's all for my own betterment. Not because I'm trying to impress anybody, not because, but like this brings wholeness to my heart when I can pull the wisdom out of experiences and I can look at myself from a place of reality. I'm not afraid to call myself out on my own shit. And if someone else wants to call me out on my shit, please do. Like, by all means. But if that shit is going to come from a place of being offended, honey, like, take that shit somewhere else. Okay? I'm not going to fight with you. I don't fight with anybody. I'll respectfully decline. Okay. Anyway, have a good day, guys. Bye.